Of all the advice, which vice will you choose? And of all the isms, collectivism, Marxism, Stoicism, well, which ism will you choose? Which schism? And then there's the question, do you even have a choice, or are you pre-programmed to act and react in certain ways depending on the circumstances? Is it all just a chemical equation, something that is predestined? Or do you use predestination, determinism, to validate your victimhood? Because it seems that when you tend to choose what seems and what you deem to be good, and then it results in positive consequences, you label that as your free will, your choice. And when the consequences turn out badly, whether you went in doing the right or wrong thing, that's when you begin to believe in determinism and the true victimness of this very state of being. Although I shouldn't say true necessarily, because these things are, as we know, unknown. Sometimes it's not a question of the way things actually are, but it's a question of how we see them. And if we tend to shift our paradigms and our beliefs about a system, we think that we have power over the change of matter. I don't know if we do or not. But the one thing I do know is that the more you know, the more I know, the more I know the vastness of all the things that are unknown. I want to talk about magic, because what is magic but the unknown, the unstudied, the undetermined, less undetermined, more unexplainable. Some, in less technocratic times and circumstances, may look at technology and call it something akin to magic, because they cannot fathom the processes which come into play to create such a machine, such a process. We see and use magic in our everyday lives. We're just unaware of it, because we're so unaware of how much we don't know that we're unable to see that magic. And so you can be a victim of all the things that you are unaware of, or you can see all the things you are unaware of, all the things you don't have control of, as magic. A magic that you know at some level has a certain technology to it, but you are unaware of at this time. And because you are so ignorantly unaware, you block it out. You don't even think of it, and you don't see the magic. Essentially, you don't see what you are not seeing, because you're only seeing the very precise things that you put the blinders on, that you can focus on, that you can hyper-focus on, because that's what we need to do. Create a sense of stability, of course. How could we go on without that? How could we possibly intend to be any measure of practical without the blinders? And in a practice of magic, where you're trying to get something that is not in a state of being yet to be in a state of being, which is a different kind of magic. It's not the magic that is unknown. It's a magic where you may not understand the processes of everything, but you are going to get to this end result. That, my friend, is chaos magic. Chaos magic not necessarily being chaotic, of course. As the original name of chaos magic was results-based magic. Actually, it had a longer name, but I forgot it. It was something to do with results-basedness. And there's a dark side to this. But firstly, I have to say that the people I observed to be actually practicing chaos magic or results-based magic appear to have far less of what we would deem societally as chaos in their own lives. And they would appear to have most of their life, their schedule, their way of being, their lifestyle in such perfect and precise order, in fact. And this is my own personal experience, but the people who are practicing chaos magic are the ones who would not even be aware of what chaos magic or results-based magic is, because they are so hyper-focused with more blinders on about how they're affecting the world around them than any other person. They would not even consider to contemplate thinking about magic, in fact. They're a bit more robotic, and I don't blame them for being so. It brings a great deal of clarity, peacefulness, well, at least a possible illusion of peacefulness, rose-colored glasses, whatever. And I envy these people. They can get more done without the thought processes of how everything's affecting everything getting in the way of what they're doing. But what they don't understand is they are possibly, not always, depending on which process of magic and results they're looking for. But often, this comes with dogmaticism. This comes with any process that has anything to do with production, consumption, at the expense of any kind of creation. Therefore, we see in this world creation as being the chaotic thing, when actually creation is not the chaotic thing. It's that those doing the creating are doing them from circumstances which are so outside of what is ordinary that from the outside it looks chaotic, but it's actually closer in alignment to what is inside our very souls. And that is more organized, not more orderly, but more organized. How much do you have free will, though? How much is determined? I would stand to argue that those who believe they have more free will take more chances and risks in going towards what they desire, but that could possibly be at a cost that they are not thinking about, depending, again, on the environment and the circumstances which you find yourself under. I would also take a wild guess here that if you believe in free will, you are dwelling in a less victim mentality, whether you're more of a victim or not, because a person could have a victim mentality and not be a victim too much of certain things, of negative things. And that's the kind of person that nobody really wants to be around, of course. It's a person who gets judged a lot. But who's to say what they've actually been through? And then you can have a victim mentality, and as a result of actually having been tossed around like mad, actually having been a victim, truly. I think in those circumstances, you should look at your being as a state of determinism.